day's achievements began in the far, far distant past, when the earth was shrouded in the mists of ignorance and fear. In those dim ages of man's beginning, fire became the first and greatest friend of the caveman, the very symbol of his primitive home. He learned to warm with it, to light with it, and to cook what the hunter brought. During the succeeding thousands of years, man learned to replace the crude stone weapons of war and of the hunt with copper and bronze weapons and tools, and observed a log rolling, and at last worked out the device of the wheel, one of his greatest achievements. While man was harnessing the forces of nature with his tools, he was also following the less praiseworthy course of subduing and harnessing his fellow man. Under the merciless lash of the taskmaster, the slave tugged with straining sinews and tortured limbs to drag the quarried rock. The sun scorches and sears their bent bodies, but the will of the Pharaoh goads and drives them on to build the pyramid, one of the greatest engineering feats in the history of man, but useless, for it served the vanity of one man, a tomb for a dead king. From the banks of the Nile, the science of the ancient world moved to the Isles of Greece. Under the azure Grecian skies, philosophers walked about, exchanging thoughts and formulating theories on mathematics, medicine, logic, and ethics. Euclid, Pythagoras, Archimedes, and Hero delighted in abstract speculation, but saw no need to give to the people practical application of their remarkable inventions. Time passed. Rome had defeated Carthage, and half the world bowed down before her.
Well done, O Appius Claudius. A feat of daring engineering equal to your feat of building the aqueduct. Now the Appian Way, named in your honor, will continue on to Capua. Well you deserve the honors the Republic can bestow upon those who engineer the paths of Roman glory.
You do me too much honor. There remains much to be done, O Consul.
How far go your plans?
My blind eyes see far beyond this road. With my inner vision, I see Roman engineers building roads leading to the far corners of the earth. Roman roads will bear our armed power to all the world, and all the world will come to mighty Rome. But now, Consul, grant me leave that I may repair the streets of the suburbia where live the poor.
What would you give the poor? A strip of pavement or the glory of conquering Rome? Use your skills for conquest, for glory. Scatter them not as crumbs before the rabble. But I hear the cheers of the multitude. The ceremonies are about to begin. Come, give me your hand. Thrice gifted Appius, famed engineer of Rome.
Rome's engineers attained a degree of skill unequaled until modern times. But to spread the flow of learning, there was needed one vehicle, the printed word.
Imprimatur Johann Gutenberg. My, this is a remarkable calendar. The year, Anno Domini 1456. Beautiful. Beautiful. Master Gutenberg.
Ja, Herr Lehrer.
May I see a page of your printed Bible?
Oh, certainly, Herr Lehrer. Here you are.
Thank you. Why, it is even clearer than the script of the monk.
Ja, Herr Lehrer.
How many of these can you produce?
Oh, as many as you wish, as long as I have ink and paper.
But how do you manage it?
Oh, I'm an old goldsmith and master engraver. You see, Herr Lehrer, the thought came upon me that metal type would not crack or wear out as does the wooden block. And so I cast large quantities of each letter of the alphabet in brass mold. I shall show you, Herr Lehrer. Hans, come, bring me that mold. Can you bring it over? Thank you. Ah, here, you see, Herr Lehrer. Movable lead type.
I see. You lock the letters into words.
Yeah.
And each letter is interchangeable.
Yeah, Herr Lehrer. Hans.
A magnificent new idea, Master Gutenberg.
Thank you, Herr Lehrer, thank you. Hans, get Master Fuss straight. Herr Lehrer, you see, after I have printed one page of the Bible, I unlock the form and reassemble my letters into new words and verses of the sacred scripture.
Blessed be God. Now you can pour out a flood of books.
Yeah, Herr Lehrer, that I can. What is it, Hans? Oh, Herr Lehrer, I would like to introduce to you my partner, Herr Fuss. Herr Lehrer. Herr Fuss, I need more paper, more metal, more capital. I need money, Fuss.
Money?
Yeah.
That's all I ever hear. How much do you need this time? I keep putting in my money, and what are you investing?
I skill, I experience. You know yourself, I built this press with my own hands. The form, the type, everything. And you ask, what did I invest?
But what's the use of it? There is no market for your books. There are no buyers.
Master Gutenberg,
Yeah, Herr Lehrer.
how soon could you print me 12 lexicons?
12 books? That will take 2 or 3 months.
Ah, 10 days.
If you can do it so quickly, I will want more. You see, I have many students, and I have only one handwritten book.
Oh,
And I want each student to have his own book.
naturally.
Master Gutenberg, print me 44 books.
44? Who would have believed it?
44 books, Herr Lehrer. You shall have them. It shall be done. 44 books. Thank you, Herr Lehrer. Auf Wiedersehen.
Ja, auf Wiedersehen, Herr Gutenberg.
44.
Puss, and you say that there is no market? No market, Puss. But come now, everybody.
The hand machines of Gutenberg were a broad step forward, but still inefficient and slow. They bore little resemblance to today's thundering presses that do in truth pour forth a flood of letters, about 750 million books a year, and the miles of newsprint, bringing more words in each issue than in Gutenberg's Bible, and bringing them with the impact of today's immediacy. Thus was realized Gutenberg's dream. But the search for power had yet far to go to achieve this end. In 1765, at the University of Glasgow, James Watt built an engine that effectively harnessed the power of steam.
You're enjoying your work as industrious Scotsmen should. I know. Oh, lads, Dr. Roebuck is here to look at the engine. Well, now, Dr. Roebuck, here you see the results of my labors on the new culminating. It's quite a departure from the older engines, and as you well know, my dear doctor, the new culminating is a combination of both the silvery and the taping. No, doctor, while repairing this engine, I perceived the loss of energy in fuel in the constant heating and cooling of the cylinder. So I proceeded to construct this model. Now, if you step right over here, Doctor, pardon me, lad. This that you see here is the separate condensing chamber. And here are my steam valves bringing steam into the cylinder. And this is my insulation keeping my steam parts hot. Well, I don't like the looks of that. Rob, lad, will you bring me a file? That's a good lad. Now, give it a couple of rubs right there.
Mind your fingers, lad. It's hot.
Well, you were told to be careful. No matter. He'll get over it. Now, Doctor, you know, we could build engines like this to serve many purposes if we only had the proper accurate tools. If we could fit the cylinder and the piston more exactly, why, we could build engines 100 times this size. Aye, but we need more money for proper accurate tools and more room to work.
Well, what? Scotland has plenty of room, and I'll give you the money if it works.
Oh, Doctor. Aye, it's more than the high hopes of a Highlander. And I give you a Scotsman's promise, it will work.
Well, are you going to start it now?
Aye.
Well, perhaps we'd best all step back.
No. I've checked everything.
We checked everything.
No.
Amazing. Why, this engine could pump, turn wheels, move belts, run our mills. The possibility...
It'll do all that and more. This power and the machine it drives will whisk away all man's burdens of toil.
Will what? You can count on my taps to add to the glories of Scotland.
Listen to the sound of it. Why, it's like a bonnet bagpipe. Aye. With a hand.
Watt was right. Steam power inspired the invention of many new machines, reared huge factories, and powered new forms of locomotion that changed the face of the continent. The Industrial Revolution was made possible by Watt's control of steam power. Providence had ordained a place in America where man could, by word and deed, bring to fruition the political as well as material benefits of the new industrial era. Delegates from the sovereign states meet to frame a constitution. Washington, Franklin, Jefferson.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Gentlemen, are we in substantial agreement?
We are.
If so, let us put our names to this instrument.
General Washington, you who have led us through war, to victory and peace, and whose guiding hand has given directions to our deliberations, will you not be the first to sign?
Almighty God, accept this, our earnest prayer, that thou wilt keep and preserve the blessings of liberty in this our beloved country forever. Amen.
These great-souled men, our founding fathers, conceived of human rights with such clarity of vision that the Bill of Rights enunciated by them has awed and inspired the statesmen of the world. The year is 1852, an office in New York City.
James Laurie, who is able to be with us and add to our discussions. Gentlemen, for some time it has been held under advisement to form here in the city of New York a society of civil engineers, and that is the purpose of this meeting.
I suggest that we gather and publish reports on the newest methods and techniques in civil engineering so that there can be an interchange of knowledge.
A library.
We're all stirred, and rightly so, at this project we're about to undertake, but we've got to lay a solid foundation for this society of civil engineers. A new era is upon us. The population is moving westward. The Pacific coast is building up. Land rush, gold rush. It puts a tremendous responsibility upon the members of our profession.
Definitely.
But what a challenge for us, and what an opportunity for our youth. Think of it, roads to be built across the desert, through the swamps and through the wilderness, mountains to be tunneled, canals to be dug, harbors to be dredged, ports to be built, railroads spanning the continent.
Tremendous opportunities, I think.
Gentlemen, there are only a few of us here, but we have the responsibility to pave the way for industry, commerce, and abundance. We have the power here and now to so act that a century hence will honor with its praise and its gratitude the American Society of Civil Engineers.
The invention of America's engineers and the need for further invention had now set the stage for a man of rare genius.
Putting it mildly.
By the facilities of this laboratory and the variety of your experiments, why, you've made an industry of it. Industry? Oh, yes. Yes, this whole country means big industry. It's a constant challenge to new ideas.
But your genius is unique.
Oh, stuff and nonsense. I just work harder at it than others. That's all.
Oh, you just work harder.
That's all. Say, I hope that man Cruzy hasn't fallen asleep with that new gadget I've been working on.
Here
Here he comes.
Here it is, whatever it is. Oh, my, what a lot of work. 30 hours without sleeping. But here it is, it's done.
Yes, but Cruzy, what on earth is it?
I don't know. Who knows?
This gentleman is a particular pet of mine. You know something?
Huh?
This machine is going to talk and sing.
Oh,
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. This machine is going to talk. You know where I got the idea?
Huh?
I was singing into the mouthpiece of this telephone when suddenly the vibrations of my voice sent a fine steel point into my finger. And that set me thinking. If I could record the actions of a point across a surface and then move that same point over the same surface afterwards, well, I saw no reason why the thing couldn't talk. You know, it's funny where ideas come from. Especially when you're looking for them. Well, now, you see, gentlemen, the tin foil is wrapped around the cylinder. Now, this needle point, you see it in here, records the sound onto the soft tin foil.
But, Mr. Edison, that's impossible. It takes a complicated set of vocal cords and a diaphragm to produce sound.
No, I'm not producing sound. I'm recording it.
But you said it would talk.
Well, we'll see. You know, the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
A few scratches on tin foil? Now, how in the name of common sense can that reproduce speech?
Oh, but it will. It will, you'll see.
I bet you a box of cigars that thing wouldn't work.
Good bet. Well, we'll know in just a moment, gentlemen. Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow. Everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. Now, you see, gentlemen, I take the needle off the cylinder and then move it back to the point where I started.
Yeah.
And now, in just a moment, we'll know whether or not we've recorded sound.
We'll know.
It's working.
Well, what do you think of that? Well, you know, I'm quite surprised myself.
I bet you are.
Say, let me try that one, huh? Yeah.
God save the Queen.
Edison's done it again.
Gentlemen, just a moment, please. Sweet Adeline,
Edison took out 1,000 patents in his lifetime. His inventions and his improvements on the inventions of others made their mark in the homes of the nation. The achievements of men of science pyramided, laying the foundations for new and greater industries, and a prosperity that reached to every town and village and farm. At the turn of the century, an infant giant, the internal combustion engine reached for new worlds to conquer.
A lighter car, and I keep asking you why. In the name of common sense, why go into a new model when our old model is going over like Niagara? It's insane.
Henry's got new ideas. He's going to cast 4 cylinders in one block.
What? Why, that's too heavy. And what if one cylinder cracks? You've got to buy all 4 to replace it.
Well, Henry's going to produce in such quantity that a 4-cylinder block will be cheaper than
Good
one.
heavens, man, we're producing 10,000 cars a year now. Besides, you'd have to spend $1 million just in retooling.
Well, why not?
Ridiculous. That's exactly what I intend to do. Oh, but good heavens, Henry, what do you hope to gain by it?
Listen to me, Flanders. I'd rather put out 25,000 cars at 5% profit than a few high-priced cars at 200% profit.
Now, look here, you
The best for the greatest number of people will always win out in the end.
What are you, a businessman or a philanthropist? Why take the risk? It's insane to scrap our tools and plow in our profits on one of your scatterbrain hunches. Our old model is good.
But not good enough and not cheap enough.
Well, there's no sense arguing with you. You're a stubborn mule. You don't know business. I'm through.
I don't know business? What? It's just plain common sense. Jim, what does our balance sheet show?
Well, you want the exact figures, Mr.
Oh,
Ford?
never mind. Just put it on to retooling.
All
Jim,
of it?
We will put out a new model in quantities bigger than men ever dreamed of
Well.
before. Each part will be machined to exact size. No supplemental fittings, no wasted motion,
Splendid.
and every cent that I can save in construction, factory management, and the purchase of materials, even if I have to own the source of supply,
That's a good idea.
will be deducted from the selling price. The price is going down.
Aye.
Jim, let's announce.
Well, what are you going to say?
Well, let me think. I'm going to put out a motor car for the... Oh, Ralph, you put this out. I'm going to put out a motor car for the multitude. I'll call it my Model T. It'll be large enough for the family and simple enough for the individual to take care of. It'll be made of the best materials by the best men that I can hire and from the simplest designs that modern engineering can devise. But it'll be so low in price that no man making a good salary will be unable to own one. And with his family, enjoy hours of pleasure out in God's wide open spaces. I don't know business. Why, it's just plain common sense.
Common sense and good business principles working together brought the fruits of invention to every citizen. Automobiles were made cheap enough and good enough to become no longer the pleasure of the few, but a necessity used by millions. The benefits of Edison's Pearl Street Power Station flowed across the land, and electric power became the basic motive force for the new industrial nation, bringing life into the lives of millions and providing power for an ever-growing myriad of tools that continue to build America. And this great force, ever-growing, made accessible the power of the atom, the giant of the future. The forms of entertainment were changed. Gaslight and candlelight gave way to electric light, and new media arose, based on the new kinds of light and power, media of entertainment that could bring joy and relaxation to thousands upon thousands in their leisure time. And the growth of America, taking its spring from the inventions of Gutenberg with his basic idea of mass production, has brought forth generation after generation of student engineers to learn more, to build more in this land of America. And the future of new things, the creation of new wonders, rests on the shoulders of the youth, the young men and women who will learn to build on the buildings of the past new structures for the betterment of the life of America and the world. America's growth has been great, with but 7% of the world's population, working on but 6% of the world's surface. America now produces more than half the world's goods. It is a far cry from the primitive tools of farming that dig neither wide nor deep. Today, America's engineers have built great machines that turn the earth and cultivate better crops. Old forms of watercraft that took much labor and gave little transport have been transformed by the skill and imagination of American engineers and the use of new sources of power and design into great ships that push thousands and thousands of tons from port to port. 15,000 tons of coal in one load on an inland waterway. Even the earlier forms of our own American buildings, simple water mills, and quaint covered bridges, have changed their structure in a brief span, and great bridges have been built. Crops cannot be grown without water. Life cannot survive without it. But the carrying of water from source to farm has worried man for centuries, and inefficient means were devised, until today's American engineers, creating new wonders, have provided new lakes, new rivers, new streams, water arid land, and make green the desert. The human back has done the world's work from primitive days till the time when power could be harnessed. Power, efficient enough and portable enough to do the work wherever it might be found. No longer need the backs of men carry the goods of the earth. This tremendous fruitfulness of American industry is largely the creation of American engineers. American engineers who have held one goal before them: to produce more goods, better made of newer and better materials, at lower and lower prices, so that what is a luxury today may be the universal necessity of tomorrow. To this end, across our land, new modes of transportation, larger, faster, stronger, have arisen to carry the goods of our factories. New tools, bigger tools, more exact tools, tools to make other tools, have been devised so that new kinds of goods can be produced better and old kinds of goods produced in new ways. The steam engine of Watt has long since superseded his most ambitious dream, and new sources of power undreamed of have been harnessed. New materials, countless in their numbers and variety, have been created to provide the many goods that now make America great. And still the need for further development marches on. The need to devise new means of doing greater labor than man's back is capable of. Tools to produce more goods, to provide more comfort and leisure for the people of America and the world. Ideas, invention, initiative, will. With these, America builds. Machines, tools, research, skill. With these, America builds. Mass production, born of liberty, giving to all the fruit of industry. With these, America builds. The skies look down on a land whose engineers have found the boundaries of their own territory, have conquered its vast resources from sea to sea. Today, American engineers have not yet found any boundaries to space. Space, the project of the future.
The signature of every century has been its skyline. The very ancient, the old, the medieval, the modern. Imprints of man's never-ending path of progress, silhouetted against the ageless canvas of the sky. Our day, our times, our signature, our skyline. Metal fingers beckoning to the invisible, calling to sound the ear cannot hear, and sight beyond the range of the unaided eye. Our era, the era of television. The dream of television had persisted for centuries. The human eye is a miraculous instrument, perceptive, sensitive, forever tuned to the pulsating wavelengths of light. Yet the eye is hemmed in by horizons. It cannot see over a hillside or beyond the haze of distance. To extend the range of human eyesight, man developed marvelously sensitive instruments, binoculars. Giant telescopes to probe the furthest span of space. But always there were barriers, distance. Could man fling pictures to the sky and gather them in at a distant point? It was a provoking challenge. And nowhere did the challenge provoke more unending experiment and research than at RCA. As far back as the 1920s, two men took up this challenge. They shared the irresistible dream of television. David Sarnoff, chairman of the board of RCA. Dr. Vladimir Zworykin, honorary vice president and technical consultant of RCA.
Dr. Zworykin, every now and then I like to put the calendar back and remember another important occasion when you came to my office. You were a good salesman, and I was a good dreamer. We talked about broadcasting moving images by electronics. And I remember that I asked you what it would cost to develop an all-electronic television system. Do you recall your estimate?
Of course I remember. I asked something like $100,000.
Your estimate missed by quite a bit. It cost RCA more than $50 million to create, develop, and introduce America's first all-electronic television system. And since that time, as you know, RCA has spent another $70 million to pioneer and develop the compatible color television system. But how well that money was spent. We succeeded in extending human sight far beyond the horizon.
Yes. This is wonderful thing about television. The extension of our sight. You are better acquainted with this progress, General, than anyone because of your participation and leadership in so many phases of television development. It was nearly 30 years ago when I came to your office with that tube, the first eye of television.
Yes, I well remember it. Nearly 30 years ago. And what a great invention this tube has become. It certainly has fulfilled its destiny.
Well, General, this is the grandfather of the pickup tube. Do you want to see the newest grandchild?
Well, I'm all for grandchildren. Let's have a look at it.
Well, here it is.
Well, this certainly looks very interesting. What do you expect this grandchild to do?
Well, that's what we call miniature Vidicon. And I hope eventually it will replace all the existing pickup tubes for all the purposes.
Well, that's very interesting and certainly very promising because what we need to do is to reduce the size and the cost of these components so that television, color television, both at the transmitting and the receiving end, may be within the reach of everyone. That is my hope.
The turning point came in 1923 when Dr. Zworykin invented the iconoscope. This tube, after years of further development, became the image orthicon, the electronic eye of the modern television camera. In 1929, Dr. Zworykin and his associates announced the first successful electronic kinescope, forerunner of today's television picture tube. The circuit was complete. All electronic television was achieved. It worked. How? The lens of the television camera acts like the iris of the human eye. It gathers in the light rays and focuses them on a mosaic of light-sensitive material that is built into the picture tube. The light-sensitive material converts the light into electrical impulses, a reaction varying with the strength of the light. The optic nerve of the camera picture tube is the electron beam, controlled by electromagnets. The beam scans the picture, which is on the plate, in rapid sweeping motions from side to side, from top to bottom. When the beam hits the image, it loses varying amounts of electrons and then bounces back to the opposite end of the picture tube, where it is amplified millions of times. It is led off to the transmitter in the form of electric current. The signals are broadcast as radio impulses into space. Part of the receiving set is the kinescope. Here, the action is reversed. The stream of electrons, synchronized perfectly with those of the camera tube, literally paints the picture information on a chemically treated screen line by line. The glow is bright when the beam is strong, less bright when it is weak. Thus, the picture is reassembled. 1931. Atop the Empire State Building, the National Broadcasting Company, a service of RCA, erected the transmitting antenna for experimental television station W2XBS. Now, RCA's technicians and scientists tackled the next goal, improvement of picture quality. Hitherto, using a mechanical process, the best that could be transmitted was a crude signal of 60 scanning lines. RCA turned to the new science of electronics, discarded the mechanical spinning disc, and soon doubled, tripled, then tripled again the scanning lines. Now television was really on its way. In 1937, television strode out of the studio with mobile vans developed by RCA and NBC, versatile, self-sustaining. New eyes, new vision for the world. A man could sit at home, yet his eyes could scan the countryside. A bright new era dawning, a new dimension in communications. Distance reduced to microwaves. Walls, barriers, mountains erased. Television, the ultimate triumph in man's search for sight beyond the range of the human eye. 1939. Television is ready to make its official public debut. The setting could hardly be more perfect. The New York World's Fair. Its theme, the world of tomorrow. And the world of tomorrow became the world of today. The RCA exhibit building, where on April 29, 1939, David Sarnoff stated, "We have added radio sight to sound." NBC cameras probed, explored, scrutinized. Viewers watching the 3,000 television sets then in New York saw the first president ever televised, Franklin D. Roosevelt, officially opening the world of tomorrow. Via television, the viewers toured with the King and Queen of England through Pavilion and Midway. Day by day, television produced new adventures, new vistas, new excitement, new thrills. NBC presented the first baseball game ever televised, August 1939. 1940, the nerve-tingling drama of a national political convention, the first ever televised. Philadelphia and New York were knit together by the electronic miracle of television. Radio relays, pioneered by RCA, and the telephone company coaxial cables, wiped out the horizon as the far limit of telecasting. Still in the trial and error stage, television began studying its own future as a tremendous new medium of entertainment. The first programs were simple, unpretentious, proving grounds for technicians, cameramen, directors, writers, and performers. Slowly, the know-how was gained. Bit by bit, creative imagination began to give form and substance to the new art form called television. (1941), a fateful year, war, and the beginning of a 4-year blackout for commercial TV. And television enlisted for the duration. Research went forward at war tempo. At RCA's David Sarnoff Research Center, Princeton, New Jersey, 24-hour shifts explored every corner of the new world of electronics. For submarine detection, the sniper scope that made it possible to see a target in darkness. Thus, the progress of perhaps a peacetime decade was compressed into 4 short years. 1945, the war over. After 4 years of unparalleled war effort, denial, sacrifice, the American public hungry for the rewards of peace. And television, with its promise of endless hours of enjoyment, entertainment, was part of the peacetime dream. RCA, although 1949, an historic television first, a presidential inauguration. As Harry Truman took the oath, the event was a dynamic industry employing more than 1 million. Television, an unparalleled blending of science and art, invention and engineering, private incentive and public service. By television, American business has found a most effective advertising medium. And in turn, advertising has provided the resources that sustain the standards of programming and permit the never-ending research that is the heart of the television industry. Television servicing alone has become a major industry, employing nearly 100,000 people. Yes, in little more than a wink of time, television has entered our homes, our lives, imprinted new silhouettes on our skyline. And all this has been just the beginning. There was still another dream to be realized. Still another dimension to be added. Black and white television had been the herald. It put millions of TV sets into our homes, built hundreds of TV stations, created an industry, an art, a public service, an exhilarating component of our American way of life. It provided the foundation for the next giant step forward. Color.
Now, when the meat is browned on one side, we add the seasoning. Then, we turn the meat, being very, very careful. Oh, nuts.
Cut it, Charlie.
Look, after all, I'm a dramatic actor. I don't know anything about cooking.
You did it all right in rehearsal.
I know. When the camera starts to roll, the pressure gets on, I blow.
Forget the camera. Just be natural. Again, from the beginning. Here we go. Okay, one.
Rolling. Speed.
Scene 1, track 2, take 2. Action.
Hi there.
Come on, action.
I'm sorry. I'm off to that business with the slate, and then my brains go out of the window.
Brains? What brains? Mrs. Morgan? Mrs. Morgan!
Here I am.
Look, I know he's related to a vice president, and it's client orders, but we've got a picture to make. Now, do you think you can rehearse him enough so that he can do a couple of simple little scenes without blowing his stack?
Well, I can certainly try.
All right, he's all yours. You can use a club or hypnosis, anything you like. But when I come back, I want a performance out of that ham.
All right, I'll do my best.
I'll be at the coffee bar. I need it.
Go ahead, assistant director. Think of something. Make yourself famous.
Sure, it's this simple. Get rid of the things that scare him, and we've got it made.
If you ask me, instead of trying to teach an actor to cook, they should have made it legit. They should have had a home economist and let her do the acting.
Yes, sir, maybe you have something. Hey, maybe you do have something. We both have. How long will the boss be gone?
You know him and his coffee.
Yeah, well, it's worth a try. Now, look.
Now, Mr. Carpenter, we want to show the audience something special. Cuts we'd be proud to serve any day of the week. For roasting, chosen the standing rib roast of beef. For broiling, thick English lamb chops and a juicy porterhouse steak. For pan broiling, a center-cut slice of ham and club steaks. Of course, we'll also prepare the ever-popular leg of lamb, a whole ham, sliced bacon, and Canadian-style bacon. Now, I'll put these in the refrigerator before we start preparing our first cut. Now, in roasting, for flavor and juiciness at their peak, it's important to remember certain steps. First, we place the roast on a rack in a shallow pan. This allows the heat to circulate around the roast as it cooks and also prevents it from cooking in its own juices. It can be seasoned before, during, or after roasting. The meat is placed fat side up, no water is added, and the roast is not covered. Cooked at a low to a moderate oven temperature, the roast does not require any basting.
Well, how long do you cook it?
Well, you can estimate the time by allowing so many minutes per pound. But the surest guide to the degree of doneness you desire is to use a roast meat thermometer. We insert the thermometer into the thickest part of the meat, making sure that it does not touch bone or rest in fat. Then, as the roast is cooking, the degree of doneness is registered on the thermometer. Beef, as you know, is cooked rare, medium, or well done. Veal is served well done. Lamb, medium or well done, and pork, always well done. For this beef standing rib roast, we set the oven at 300 to 325 degrees Fahrenheit for slow roasting. And this is also the temperature used for veal, for lamb, and for cured pork. For fresh pork, we use 325 to 350 degrees.
Well, now, don't you sear it first? You know, brown it quickly?
No, searing is not necessary. Actually, searing will increase the cooking losses. For meat that is cooked slowly, we're sure to get more servings of juicy meat. Meat that is more tender and meat that is better flavored.
I'm getting hungry.
Yes, when these meat cuts have been prepared properly, we're sure to please everybody. Now let's broil some meat.
You getting anything?
Yeah, it looks okay from here.
These thick English lamb chops, when broiled, are something extra special. We can also broil porterhouse, T-bone, sirloin, rib, and tenderloin beefsteaks, smoked ham slices, lamb, loin, rib, or shoulder chops, and sliced or Canadian-style bacon. So that we can use the broiler, Miss Peterson has removed the standing ribs of beef and brought it into the backstage kitchen where it'll finish cooking. First, we place the lamb chops on the rack of the broiler pan, and then next set the regulator to broiling. We will insert the broiler pan so the meat is 2 to 3 inches from the heat, depending on the broiler and the thickness of the steaks or chops. The thicker the cut, the greater the distance from the heat. When broiling, as when roasting, we cook at a low to moderate temperature. Meat that is broiled too quickly may be browned on the outside before it is the right doneness in the center. If you broil at a high temperature, you can also expect meat to be less juicy.
Mrs. Morgan. Mrs. Morgan,
Yes,
aren't you ever going to finish?
yes, we're moving right along. Now, after one side has been browned, add seasoning. Then turn the meat, being careful not to pierce the chops and lose valuable juices. To avoid this, we insert the fork in the fat, or turn the meat with tongs, or use a fork and spatula. In broiling, we turn meat only once. Now that the second side is browned, season the chops and remove to a preheated platter. Serve them immediately while they're hot and at very best.
Gee, they look good.
They are delicious and, of course, an outstanding source of the high-quality protein that makes meat such an important part of everyone's diet. For the third method that's often used in preparing some of these cuts of meat, let's pan broil.
Assistant? Where's my assistant?
Coming.
Yes, sir. Coffee. Oh, all right. And don't forget my change.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mrs. Morgan.
When steaks, chops, and other cuts of meat suitable for broiling have been cut less than an inch thick, they should be pan broiled. In pan broiling, we use an uncovered frying pan. We do not add fat or moisture. Sometimes you may want to cut the fat edge slightly to prevent curling. Then place the meat in a heavy frying pan. You may want to brush the pan slightly with melted lard to prevent beef or lamb patties from sticking. Then we cook the meat slowly.
Pan broiling is simple, isn't it?
Oh, it is simple. All that remains now is to turn the meat occasionally to ensure even cooking and pour off the fat as it collects in the pan, since we're pan broiling, not frying. When the meat is properly browned on both sides, remove it to a preheated platter. Garnish it and serve it immediately while piping hot.
I am hungry. These meat dishes look wonderful. Aren't we ever going to break for lunch?
We've just begun. Miss Peterson has been preparing some of the other meat cuts. Mary?
Yes, Mrs. Morgan?
Are the meats ready?
Yes, they are.
Can we show them to Mr. Carpenter now?
Surely.
There it is, Mr. Carpenter. The basic method used to prepare some of the American family's traditional favorites. Steak always makes a hit. Looks and is so good. For a taste treat, roast leg of lamb, garnished and ready to serve. Or baked ham, like all pork, rich in bodybuilding protein and essential B vitamins. Broiled or pan-broiled, club steaks are sure to please. Broiled lamb chops, distinctive in flavor and appetite appeal. Or bacon, for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, sliced in Canadian style. Smoked ham slice, cut extra thick and broiled, is a sure way to satisfy a hungry family. And another truly great meat cut, the beef standing rib roast, perfectly done, gracious living. That's it, Mr. Carpenter. The basic methods used to prepare some of the American family's traditional favorites.
Mrs. Morgan.
Mrs. Morgan.
We're all set now. I think Mr. Carpenter is ready.
Oh, fine. Well, let's get one scene shot anyway. All right, places, everybody. Quiet, please. Let's slate it. Scene 1, take 3.
Never mind, Chief.
What do you mean, never mind? We haven't shot a scene yet.
Well, Chief, Charlie on camera had an idea. He said, why not use a home economist as an actor instead of an actor as a home economist? So we shot all the scenes right from the script as Mrs. Morgan showed us how to prepare the meats.
What? That could mean your job, you know. I'm telling you, it'd better be good.
Good. Chief, it'll be perfect. After all, it was made with an all-star cast. No, not the people, the subject.
Thinking about buying a cart, Don? You've got a lot to choose from. So much so, it gets to be a problem, right? By the way, decided on an engine yet? Smart choice. Now, I'll bet it didn't take you long to figure out which engine you wanted, did it? You picked the champion, a McCulloch, the cart engine with more world championships to its credit than any other. Remember all the races McCulloch has won? You remember. At Azusa, California, McCulloch engines dominated the Go-Kart Club of America Nationals. They showed their winning form at the St. Louis Grand Prix, grabbing 10 out of 11 top positions. Twice, McCulloch engines won the coveted international trophy at the Nassau Grand Prix and carted away victories in every event they entered. Winner of thousands of victory trophies, holder of more track records than any other engine. McCulloch, the undisputed world champion of karting. Makes you feel like a champion just owning a McCulloch engine, doesn't it? What you need now is a cart to match that engine. Just step over here, Don. There's something you ought to see if you're in the market for a cart. A new kind of frame for a new kind of cart. To build it, McCulloch takes ribbons of steel and sends them through forming machines that roll these strips into lengths of our precision cut and shaped uniformly to engineering design. Notched sections are interlocked and held together by a Sigma welding process so tough that the finished frame will support up to 500 times its own weight. That's strength. Strength that means safety. Impressed, Don? Well, that frame rolls on wheels so... Now, bring it along and we'll see how McCulloch puts this new cart together.
Up front, wheels ride on spindles made of one-piece, flame-hardened steel. Bracket and bolt are welded for extra strength and set in nylon kingpin bearings that never need lubrication. Automotive-type roller bearings and fail-safe washers give wheels and tires a smooth, safe ride. And now for the steering, another new McCulloch concept in karting. Front wheels are coupled by tie rods to a specially designed Pitman arm that exaggerates basic Ackerman steering.
Ackerman steering?
That's right, Ackerman steering. And what a difference it makes when you're out on a track cornering at high speed. Here's how it works. This coupling guides the inside wheel through turns at a tighter radius than the outside wheel. The blue area shows the 14 degrees extra turning radius McCulloch's specially engineered Ackerman gives to the inside wheel. This eliminates wheel driving action of carts during high-speed cornering. So you, Don, as a driver, can actually use sliding to help you drive better. Wherever you look, it's a lot of cart. The throttle pedal, with its direct linkage to the engine, disc brake. And for easy steering, a chromed wheel with plastic overcoating. Behind that wheel stands a rigid seat assembly with integrated fuel tank, baffled to prevent sloshing on turns. And over the contoured seat, durable, long-lasting upholstery to make driving easier, riding more comfortable. She's got a lot of class, huh, Don? Well, here's the most revolutionary aspect yet. Right behind the seat, 4 pairs of sturdy rubber mounts provide the cushion for McCulloch's detachable rear axle power unit. Axle, wheels, mounts, and engines attach as a single unit, fully shock-mounted, to separate frame and driver from track and engine vibration. And just 4 bolts do the trick. If only you had a surgical probe, Don. You do? Good. Bring it down here, and we'll see just how effective those shock absorbers are. Look at that. Designed to absorb shock and soak up vibration. There she is, just the way McCulloch brings her to you. A racing cart to warm the heart of every racing fan. As versatile as she is beautiful. And let us show you why. You can use your one McCulloch chassis for all racing events, from Class A right on up to the Supers, just by interchanging axle units fitted with engines to match the class. McCulloch opens up a new era in karting. Not yet. To really appreciate the smooth speed of a McCulloch, you've got to compare it first with an ordinary, and you'll know why a McCulloch cart makes all others old-fashioned. Come along. That's vibration. Back-breaking, body-banging, arm vibration that can shake, rattle, and roll you into something resembling a human jackhammer. Had enough, Don? Make you nervous?
No.
Just vibrating, are you? We'll take care of that right now. You're in for a treat, my friend. Your first ride in a new shock-mounted McCulloch, the cart that takes vibration out of driving. Shock absorbers make the difference. Between you and rear wheels, they're soaking up track and engine vibration to give you a smooth ride. No jolts to tire your arms and shoulders. Want to try it for acceleration? Don, you've picked some pretty tough competition. Okay, let's see what you'll do. From a rolling start to 45 miles an hour in 2.5 seconds. With a burst of speed like that, you can be a champion anywhere. Let's get into the race. Here's where McCulloch's specially designed Ackerman steering really pays off. That inner front wheel actually tracks the corner. Front wheels slide through the turn. And it takes just the slightest wheel correction to move into the straightaway and on to the finish line with perfect control. Yes, when you choose the McCulloch cart, you're driving a champion.
Yep, it's the 1963 Seahorse Jamboree. And here to kick off the show for you is an old friend of yours and a good friend of mine, Bud Collier.
You're right, little chum. I've been a good friend of the Johnson Motors organization for a long time. As a matter of fact, 3 years ago, I worked in the very first of these yearly motion pictures presented by your Johnson dealer to bring you tops in entertainment and at the same time show you what's new in the great Seahorse line of outboard motors. Remember? Well, I've seen many changes in the evolution of outboard boating in the past few years. I've seen the continuation of a boating boom that seems to have no limit, and at the same time, the continuation of Johnson Seahorse as the world's leader. Now, the reason for this popularity may be wrapped up in just one sentence. Being best has never been good enough for Johnson, because to keep being best, you have to be better than the best.
Yes, sir, Mr. Collier, better than the best. That's the story for 63, all right.
Well said, little old buddy, and friends, we're here to prove it to you. Hey, what's that thing?
Oh, your helicopter's waiting, sir, so come on, climb aboard. Let's go with the big show.
And no sooner said than done. Here we are with a helicopter view of beautiful Cypress Gardens, world-famous showplace in the heart of central Florida's hill and lake region known as Holiday Highlands. A slight change of course now, and our helicopter crew looks down on a beautiful showplace within a showplace. This is the great Aquarama Pool, in a gem-like setting overlooking the storied movie aisles of Cypress Gardens. Let's set it down there, pilot. How about it?
But boy, what a lousy landing. Hey, Collier! Collier! Where are you?
You took the wrong copter, little chum, because here I am at poolside, where something is always going on, such as 200 costumed square dancers do-si-doing it all around the place. And in the pool, beautiful water ballet by the Dolphinettes of Vero Beach, Florida. Yes, something's always going on in the great Aquarama Pool at Cypress Gardens. Such as our little friend here, running wild in a flivver boat powered by the smallest engine in the Johnson line, the brand new 1963 Seahorse 3-horse. A tiny motor? Sure, but with a great big Johnson heart singing
QDP. Quiet, dependable power.
This year's Seahorse 3 with QDP has a snap-on attachment for all types of fuel tanks. Now you can supplement the small integral tank on the 3 by snapping it into your regular fuel supply and troll with it all day long. Say, our little chum here seems to have a real lunker on the end of that line. Play him in, boy. It's a sea monster. All hands abandon ship. Call out the Marines. Marines? These are Marines? No, at second glance, they're the Aquanuts, here to put on one of the zaniest exhibitions at anybody's pool. When these Aquanuts do their aqua stunts, they turn the aqua pool into an aqua nut house. These fellows might be aqua nuts, but they're no aqua fools in this big aqua pool. The incredible Aquanuts and the most credible Cypress Gardens Aquamaids. Hey, what's going on over there?
Come on! Come on, get going! Get going! Let's go! Come on, get going! Hurry up there, get going! What are you waiting for?
Presenting those mighty mites of the outboard world, the Johnson Seahorse Compacts for 1963. Created by Johnson for this age of big performance and economy in small packages. Here's the Seahorse Compact 5.5. Keep light, even squawk and carry. The Seahorse Compact 10. Mighty handy in case they're biting at the water hole. And the Seahorse Compact 2-star 18. He certainly looks like a Johnson, doesn't he? It's QDP for the 5.5. Quiet, dependable power. Smallest of the compacts and mighty, mighty tough when it comes to a showdown. It's QDP for the Compact 10. Quiet, dependable, and power to spare when you want to run for home ahead of a line squall. And it's QDP for the Compact 18, the most versatile motor in the compact line. Plenty of extra power here and plenty of power for family activities such as pontoon boats, increasing more in popularity every day. Slim and trim and full of vim. That's the Johnson Seahorse Compact story for 1963. Oh, no. No, no, no. I just can't bear to watch this one.
Boy, what a splash hit! Hey, what's this?
Little old buddy, this is probably the most talked about outboard engine of the year. The economy motor of 1963. The budget-minded, all-purpose Johnson Seahorse 3-star 28. Here's a motor with power enough to do everything in boating, perfectly matched to thousands of boats. Pull 2 skiers? You bet it will, with power to spare. Big power at the lowest possible price, consistent with top Johnson quality. That's the idea behind the Seahorse 28. A long-lasting, economical power plant that will practically never wear out. If you're a twin motor skipper, A pair of 28s will perfectly fill the bill for almost all runabouts and utilities, even the heavier ones. Take a good, close, careful look at this great Seahorse 28 for 63. It can well give your family the first opportunity to do everything you want to do in boating. A real value any way you look at it.
Boy, what class, what feature, what savoir-faire. Hey, who's this guy?
This guy, little buddy, is Buster McCullough, just about Mr. Everything in water skiing. This boy has held so many world and national championships that he's long since lost count. If it's on water, Buster can do it, just a little bit better than anyone else. Buster McCullough's sensational helicopter spin into the Aquarama pool just couldn't be done without power. The muscle power of a great athlete and the QDP, quiet, dependable power of the 1963 Johnson Seahorse 4-Star 40. With 3 engines to choose from, these sporty 40s will take care of just about everything in boating. The economical manual starting 40 is a breeze, especially for the teenagers who love to ski. To go on with the story of the sporty 40s, here's the electric starting model with quiet, dependable power at the turn of a switch. The best in boating in the medium budget range. Next, the Super Seahorse Electromatic 40, complete with generator, safe single lever control, and the first truly automatic, all-electric transmission in outboard motor history. No, wait a minute, wait. It's not your job to explain electromatic, little chum. No, that's my job. Electromatic means the only goof-proof, single-lever, automatic, all-electric control in outboarding. And only Johnson has the 2 elements that work together in perfect harmony to create the miracle called electromatic. The safe single-lever control and a truly automatic electric transmission. Clutch springs rotate freely when the single-lever control is in neutral position. When the control is pushed forward, the forward switch makes contact and sends electrical energy back to the lower unit, where a stationary magnetic coil attracts the rotating spring, which then grips the clutch hub and turns the propeller shaft. The actual travel of the spring is so fast that you can't follow the operation with the naked eye, so let's slow the action through high-speed photography. Now, when we push the single lever control from neutral into forward position, the energized coil immediately attracts the rotating spring, which grips the clutch hub smoothly, easily, with just the proper amount of slippage for a velvet smooth shift. No jerk, no clunk. The faster you go, the tighter it grips. When the coil is demagnetized, the clutch spring relaxes and again rotates freely. Shift into reverse, and again you have the same smooth operation. Positive and smooth. One hand is in control of your boat at all times. You don't even have to look at it to push buttons or other gadgets. This leaves your eyes where they should be, on the water up ahead. Now, the motor this girl is driving is the king of the outboards, the 5-star Electromatic V75. Here's big power and big performance. Speaking of big power,
next, ladies and gentlemen, water skiing's greatest barefoot spectacular, starring Don Thompson and Jolene Nathy.
Electromatic is a magic word in outboarding. But the word for these kids is definitely electromagnificent. A lot of you are probably wondering how they make a landing. Well, that's something the scientists might be able to figure out by the 30th century or so. Just keep figuring, little buddy. When it comes to figuring out why Johnson seahorses lead the world in outboard sales, it's simple. It's what's inside that counts. Just take a look at the insides of this 5-star V75, for instance. The automatic choke means instant starting. The twin-barrel carburetor with fixed high-speed jets means big fuel savings. And this special fuel-saver linkage helps, too. It's the quietest big motor in the world because of this special sound blanket. The power head floats on rubber, and the exhaust is underwater. Even the gears are beveled with the silencing in mind. The 4-cylinder V engine is vibration-free because of precision balancing, and it has a whopping 89.5 cubic inch piston displacement. The high-speed gear case knifes through the water with maximum speed and minimum resistance. One of the most practical features of all is the built-in alternator, standard equipment on the Electromatic V75. It supplies you all the power you need for electrical accessories, such as Johnson's power tilt. And like every seahorse built, it's completely corrosion protected, even against salt water. Take your choice of 2 Super Seahorse V75s for 1963. The standard electric starting model, or the 1963 Super Seahorse Electromatic V75. Here is the epitome of QDP, quiet, dependable power by Johnson. Oh yes, about the choice of an outboard over any other kind of power, take it from people who have been around boats and motors most of their lives. They'll tell you that the true outboard is the best kind of propulsion you can put on your boat. Oh, sure, there are a lot of different engine applications on the market today, but the true outboard will outperform all of them. And believe me, the Johnson Seahorse is the best of the outboards. Well, I guess that about says everything there is to say, doesn't it? Hey, wait a minute. Maybe there is something more to say. This is impossible. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Uh-oh. Maybe not so unbelievable after all. Well, we've really had some seahorsing around today, haven't we? Believe me, it's been great being back again with you this year. Now, we've seen a lot of stars in action in this movie, but remember, the greatest star on river, lake, or sea is the Seahorse line for 1963. It's really on target. Your Johnson dealer is ready to prove that to you right now. Bud Collier. So long.
Not far away these days, some 21 remote islands rise from the floor of the greatest ocean. Beyond them, the waters wash upon east and west as well. The Hawaiian Islands, nearly 1 million people and some 6,000 square miles of America in mid-Pacific. The islands are but minutes away from one another, but each is a world unto itself. The soaring mountains catch the rain clouds in their outstretched fingers of rock and hold it at bay, protecting the fair tropical weather of the shoreland, where the climate is so good that the Hawaiian language has no word for weather. The sun is sovereign, everywhere and almost always. Here in America's newest state, the only one that is entirely tropical. Honolulu, Hawaii's major metropolis, is the touching down place of flights from east and west. Most Hawaiians live here on this island of Oahu. Hawaii is a special place. Even the compass speaks the language. Makai is towards the sea. Mauka is toward the mountains from any direction. Waikiki is toward the fabled beach of Honolulu. A booming city, Honolulu, big and modern, replete with the good life, the shopping centers, the pace of today's America. This is one aspect of Hawaii. A land where even shoes might be considered formal wear. In the many ways that Hawaiians worship, you get a hint of the many faces of these islands. The native Hawaiians have intermingled with all the races of the world. Hawaii is almost the ultimate melting pot, a kind of world commonwealth. In their faces, the close observer will note origins from everywhere, but always, too, the special warmth that many travelers prize as much as the scenery. The Hawaiians manage to combine two traits that often seem to contradict each other: efficiency and courtesy. Boston missionaries, shocked at the nakedness of the Hawaiians, provided the Mother Hubbards that evolved, thanks to benign genius, into the moo-moos and later developments of our less shockable times. Hawaii runs from the modest to the super elegant and does it without self-consciousness. At Sea Life Park, the great ocean is miniaturized in the Oceanarium, a center for the serious study of what men are now calling hydrospace. The porpoise has been trained to indicate numbers up to 10, to carry messages to men under the sea, to respond to commands. With a brain larger than man's, he is already man's best friend in the salt water that is most of the earth. Pastoral in the Hawaiian mood, or pineapples by the meadowful. Here you can taste them fresh from the stalk, an experience most visitors do not miss. Pearl Harbor, where America's grief outlives those who died here on that memorable Sunday, who still lie within the hull of the stricken battleship Arizona. You come to Pearl Harbor in brighter times, and if you think beyond this day alone, you remember the long, hard way that lay ahead on that day of memory. Hawaii is a reminder of the many cultures that flourish in the vast Pacific region. The Polynesian Cultural Center is a recreation of the very villages of the ancient Hawaiians, Tahitians, Samoans, Fijians, and Tongans. These dwellers of the thousands of islands scattered over an area of sea many times the size of the United States. You see the dances of Polynesia in many, many places throughout the islands. The hula began as a religious dance to please the gods. Its every movement a subtle form of interpretive pantomime that is far more ancient than the European ballet. Hawaii's floral magnificence becomes a wreath that symbolizes the very spirit of the islands. The lei is a symbol of friendship, a toast in flowers, a part of what Hawaiians mean when they say aloha. On Lei Day, the colors of the fields and jungles, of mountainsides and coastal lowlands become a kind of massive bouquet. The Hawaiian kings of yesteryear and American politicians of today, people of worldwide ancestries, Americans all, celebrate the day of King Kamehameha here at Iolani Palace, the only state capital in America that was once a royal palace. Surfing is a way of life in Hawaii. This particular surf is for experts only, who know how to ride with the waves. As the surfer takes the waves that come, the fisherman takes the fish. Less than an hour away from Oahu, the island of Hawaii, the big island that is bigger than all the other Hawaiian islands combined. This is the island of Hawaii, a land of flowering orchids. Anthuriums. Macadamia nuts. The sausage tree. Hotels built around trees. A glass roof to bring the outdoors indoors. A quiet place, a private place for those who venture to the Big Island, to one of the world's most elegant stopping places here in the shadow of the Mauna Kea volcano. On Hawaii Island's Kona coast, the Hawaii of old, sights such as these greeted Captain Cook, who discovered the island. A comparative newcomer gets ready to weigh in a black marlin, one of the many great game fish the sea holds for those who can get them. A landscape of lava reminds all who come that the Big Island is the home of the great volcanoes. The beaches of black sand are further reminders of the eruptive force of the fire-belching mountains. But there is no greater reminder than the real thing. Periodic eruptions such as this one of Mount Kilauea is a sight not to be missed, for nature's power can still give man a dose of perspective. Most days, the volcanoes bide their time. On the state's second largest island, Maui, a half hour from Honolulu, the tourist retains the basic Hawaiian choice. The real privacy, even the loneliness of the endless beaches. But for all this, an almost timeless Hawaii remains to be discovered just beyond the grounds of the hotel. This is Lahaina, once the royal capital of all Hawaii, where tough whalers fought for power with determined missionaries. Many observers have marveled at Hawaii's intellectual and religious traditions. They reflect Boston far more than California. Even the architecture recalls a 19th century New England. In the sugar fields, you see the bounty of these islands in the sun. In these greatest sugar plantations under the American flag, it takes approximately 2,000 pounds of water to grow 1 pound of sugar. Not far from any road, there is a Hawaii that is still uncrowded. The waterfalls in the Hana area, set in a lush tropic flowering of red ginger and taro fields. Maui's famed Hana coast is practically a summoning of nature's splendor. The rugged mountains and the great ocean, the inland lakes, the tropical foliage. A spectacle that is but prelude to Haleakala, the house of the sun to the Hawaiians. So close in aspect to the surface of the moon, this largest dormant crater on Earth is training ground for future astronauts who hope to land on the moon. Only here in all the world, bursting amazingly from the harsh volcanic earth, the silver sword plant. It rests for 20 years, then flowers forth in an explosion of 6-foot stalks of color. Then the great plant dies. Northwesternmost of the Hawaiian Islands is Kauai. Beyond here, the Pacific lies virtually unbroken by islands until Japan itself. One guidebook calls Kauai nearest thing to Eden. In the 19th century, it was a Russian possession, an independent kingdom in its own right, and the landing place of the first Congregationalists from Boston. Hollywood has filmed many pictures here, where the South Seas reach upward to mid-Pacific. Overlooking the Kauai surf, a hotel in the style of a Polynesian village. Even Hawaiians from other islands call Kauai the Garden Island, It is a symphony of colors, particularly green in every shade. Your boat moves on the Wailua, one of Hawaii's few rivers, into a grotto of giant fishtail ferns. If volcanic eruptions shape the exterior of so much of Hawaii, here water is the sculptor. Water has carved a swimming pool that men can't quite duplicate. Here they shot the film South Pacific for reasons that need no spelling out. The hard-to-find opihi mussels are well worth the eating when you do find them. At the end of every day, the sounding of a conch horn, followed by the lighting of torches. The evening burning of the leaves of sugar cane before the harvest. The gods of gastronomy are invoked. The pig, stuffed with hot emu stones to cook inside as well as out, is the central character, surrounded by supporting performers such as cooked bananas, sweet potatoes, and poi, the local starch, salads and garnishment. And the luau commences. Expect opihi mussels, lomi salmon, chicken, dried seaweed, roasted kukui nuts, and much else, all of which should hold back the pangs of hunger. And there are cook-it-yourself spots for those who go for simpler fare, such as steak. And there are simpler entertainments, too. And Hawaiian evening progresses. And Hawaii lives in its special way. The pineapples are harvested in the cool of late twilight. Hawaii imports visitors from other places, and she exports her own special genius for making the most out of life.